So the basic economic problem is just a result of scarcity. So far, we've talked about individual level scarcity. Say we've talked about individual people, individual consumers, we've talked about even you, right? So when we talk about individual people, I've tried to make the problem or the concept of scarcity easier to you. Now, when we talk about the same scarcity, consisting of the economy as a whole or the country as a whole, involving the government, all the people in the population and everyone in the country, that's when the problem of scarcity turns into the basic economic problem. So as we know, when the economy is facing the problem of unlimited wants but limited resources, that's when the basic economic problem arises due to scarcity. To elaborate or to illustrate this basic economic problem, we can repeat whatever we have learned so far. We've learned that the basic economic problem is a result of scarcity, but it involves the economy as a whole, the country as a whole. When we talk about all the population, the government, and everyone involved in the country facing scarcity, which is unlimited wants and limited resources, that's when we get our basic economic problem. Right? We've talked about you and ice cream. We've talked about you and the desire to meet your celebrity. So these were all focused only on you. Now, when we focus on the same problems in terms of the entire economy or the entire country, that's when we get our basic economic problem. So let's take examples to understand this term better. So now let's explain the concept of the basic economic problem further using examples. Now, considering a country which is more or less developing, say Africa. What happens in Africa? In Africa, the population is tremendous. A lot of people live in Africa. But what happens when the resources are limited to satisfy the wants of all these people? What happens is we get a basic economic problem, right? So we know that Africa has a lack of resources. It has a lack of labor. It has lack of capital. It might have lack of land in some cases. So what happens is all the people who live in Africa are not being able to get their wants satisfied to the fullest. Hence, the basic economic problem is occurring in Africa, right? See, we're talking about the same scarcity, unlimited wants and limited resources in an international level, focusing on one country, and that's how we're getting our basic economic problem. If we consider another example, say the example of a country such as Afghanistan. We know that Afghanistan is a war-prone country. Now, what happens is that due to this, the resources in the country might be deteriorated. They might not have enough airports, they might not have enough bridges, roads, and all that. So what happens is the want of the people to escape from Afghanistan and go to another country might not be fulfilled due to the lack of resources. So all of these people in Afghanistan have unlimited wants but limited resources to fill or to fulfill their wants. Again, the problem of scarcity leading to the basic economic problem could be recognized. So far we've talked about the basic economic problem in terms of less developed economies, right? We've talked about Afghanistan, we've talked about Africa, but it is also vital for us to understand that this basic economic problem does not only comprise of the lower or less developing economies. It is a problem in all of the economies around the world. It could be the best of economies with a very high GDP who are doing really well, who are very developed. Say for example, UK, USA, Scotland, Canada, and all that. Even these economies face the basic economic problem. To make your understanding clear, let's consider a country such as the USA. The USA can be considered as a developed country, right? But even then, it might lack some basic resources. It might lack oil, it might lack coal, it might lack gold. So due to the limit to these resources, USA may not be able to satisfy wants of all of its population, right? So see, the basic economic problem is persisting in USA as well, despite of the country being a developed one. So let's just go through what the basic economic problem is one more time. The basic economic problem results from scarcity, which is the situation which arises from unlimited wants but limited resources to satisfy those wants. As a result, everyone is not happy in the economy. Everyone does not have their wants satisfied. Some wants have to be given up. Some choices have to be made because it's not possible for all of the economies all around the world to satisfy each and every consumer or each and every individual's wants. So this is the prevailing problem which is going around the world, which is known as the basic economic problem, the problem which arises from unlimited wants and limited resources. In other words, the problem which arises from scarcity. So I hope I have been able to make you understand what the basic economic problem is. For one more time, it is the problem that arises due to scarcity, which is unlimited wants but limited resources to satisfy those wants, isn't it? So now let's focus on what we know the basic economic problem as a whole. So the basic economic problem as a whole is the problem which persists in all over the country, the problem which persists in all over the economy of a country, the problem in which all the government, all the consumers, all the producers, everyone is involved, isn't it? So I've given you quite a lot of examples focusing on Afghanistan, focusing on Africa, focusing on even the developed countries such as the USA, and I've talked about how despite of being developed or despite of being a less developed country, all these countries will have to face the basic economic problem which is persisting around the world, and due to the unlimited wants but limited resources, each and every consumer or producer or the government itself is not being able to satisfy all of their wants. So scarcity in the bigger picture is basically the basic economic problem. So I hope so far you've been quite clear about this basic economic problem term, because economics is swirling and rotating around the basic economic problem. So as a conclusion, I would like to go through the points that we have covered in this chapter. In this chapter, firstly, we have looked at the meaning of needs. We've looked at the meaning of wants. We've looked at what are resources. We've looked at the meaning of scarcity. We've looked at the meaning of scarcity in individual levels through different examples. And lastly, we have looked at the basic economic problem, the problem that arises due to unlimited wants but limited resources to satisfy those wants. So like I said, scarcity in a bigger picture involving consumers, involving government, involving the entire economy as a whole is known as the basic economic problem. So that was me, Zareen, and that was the lesson for today. I will be seeing you in the next class with a new chapter with a lot of excitement. I hope you have liked it, and I hope the problem of the basic economics is clear to you. So that's it. I'm signing out. See you again. Bye-bye.